Welcome to Farmcraft 2023. I'm Dr. Carrie Fowler, the Special Envoy for Global Food Security at the United States Department of State in Washington. Many people know me from my work to conserve the enormous and breathtaking diversity of our agricultural crops. This diversity is used in breeding new crop varieties that are adapted to extreme weather and are more productive and more nutritious. Of course, it's also important to promote investment in healthy soils to boost food production. Now, I work to enhance food security around the world. My love for farming and science led me to where I am today. Now, I'd like to invite you on a journey. But first, I need a bit of a change. Let's discover Farmcraft. Farmcraft is a free Minecraft-based game for 8 to 18-year-old students around the world who want to learn how to feed the future when we will soon have to feed an additional 2 billion people while our crop production will face the threat of climate change. In Farmcraft, you will have a chance to feed a community in a specific biome, and along the way, you and your team will have to make many decisions. Pick a specific crop, decide where to farm, prepare the soil, protect your crop against pests, and of course, avoid climate disasters. Once you will have your crop harvested, you'll have to decide how to transport it to get it to the market. You will compete virtually against teams around the world, and in the process, you'll learn and use the most innovative and cost-effective scientific methods to grow and to sell food. Well, the sun is setting, so it's time for me to get back. The U.S. Department of State is proud to support Farmcraft 2023 with our embassies and American spaces worldwide, working with our implementing partner, the North American Scholastic Esports Federation, or NASEF. Thanks for spending time with me, learning the basics of Farmcraft. I hope you will join a Farmcraft team and be part of our global effort in feeding the future.
Hello.
Hello everyone. Welcome to Farmcraft 2023. The countdown is on. We're almost to the end of the season.
You say everyone, but we've got a quaint group today. It's just the two of us.
Well, it's the two of us, except for there are people watching, right? So welcome.
I mean, and everyone at home and at schools and everywhere else. Sure, of course.
Yes,
but,
exactly.
In the little boxes on the screen, it's just the two of us.
We've had a pretty big group a few times this year. I mean, I think our first stream, we were juggling like 10 people on screen. So yes, but today we're super excited. Even though it's Eric and I here with you, we are going to be sharing some awesome videos and some awesome content from those of you who are participating in Farmcraft. And that is why we're here, is to support you in your learning journey as you get to use Minecraft to learn all about agriculture, climate change, transportation, the whole farm to fork movement. That's a saying here in the United States or here in California. I don't know if it is around the world.
We've gone beyond farm to table. We've gone all the way to the fork. Not yet to the mouth, but to the fork.
Yes, that's true. Well, maybe next year the silverware folks are going to want to get into it too.
That's right.
Or chopsticks, depending where you are, I suppose. Yes. So we kind of skipped over the introductions. You probably know us by now. My name is Claire LeBeau, and I am the Chief Marketing Officer at NASEF, and excited to be able to host this program. Whether there are two of us talking to you or 10 or 12, we are all here supporting you every day.
And I am Eric Leitner. I'm education content producer at Clever Like Studios. Been a partner on Farmcraft since the very beginning. Go by the nickname River, and I cannot believe this is it. This is the last stream before the award ceremony. The season has flown by completely. There's still time, of course, to get scores in, to get your video diaries in, all of those things that we want to see from the students. That time still exists, but it's winding down.
It is. The deadlines are quickly approaching. So we have some great content to share with you today, some inspiration, some insights that hopefully will help you as you complete your journey through Farmcraft. We are going to start off with some student videos from challenge number 2. So Eric, do you want to tell us a little bit about what challenge 2 was?
Absolutely. So challenge two is actually my favorite, and it kind of brings up like all of these conversations that we can have around it. But the end game of challenge two was work through a process of feeding a biome, farming in a particular biome, keep those constant, but change your methodologies. So use as much technology in one playthrough as possible, and then use as little technology in another playthrough, and see how that affects things like climate, your unit costs, your expenses, just about everything. So, and see what conclusions you come up with. Is one way better than the other? Is the best idea to kind of merge these ideas together, to only use certain things when we need them? What's the battle plan we come up with? What's the game plan we come up with based on those two playthroughs? So that was the challenge. That's what we wanted to hear feedback from the students from. And we've got a lot of great entries. We're only going to share a few because this is like a video heavy stream today, right? So our first one is from team Daewon Xiongzan. So let's take a look.
Hi, we are Taiwan Xiongzan. In Challenge 2, we chose temperate biome to grow our crops and send them to desert biome. For the first playthrough, we grew, fertilized, killed pests with bug spray, and harvest the crops manually. As for the second time, we did everything by the machines. In the end, we got the better score with the manual processes.
Manual takes more time. However, if we work together, the process can be almost as fast as the machine.
For example, when we use bug spray to kill the pests, we did faster and more accurate than the drones. On the other hand, machine is more efficient but expensive.
The overall cost with machine is higher. We think that is why our score with manual is better.
When it comes to climate, machine definitely do more harm than manual. The unsteady climate affects the transportation. It causes us to lose the cargoes during the shipping, and this will increase the unit price. We have also found that we did not keep our soil and water level high enough to make our crops strong.
Next time we will try to use machine to plant the seed.
And we will kill the pests manually, but try not to use too much bug spray. We will also keep an eye on the soil and water level. We hope that we can get a better score after we modify the process.
Thank you.
That was perfect.
It was. They really addressed the challenge like completely.
I mean, everything. Yes. And I love how they said not only this is what happened this time, but this is what we think we're going to do next
Thanks
time.
for watching.
Oh, at the end of the
Oh,
video.
they're back. They're back. Oh, that's funny. Yes, that was fantastic. I just love to see, you set out on a journey in Farmcraft to have students learn specific things. And when they submit the videos and they actually learn those specific things, it's just so rewarding. Great to see.
It's great because it also brings in this conversation of, I mentioned in the challenge to use as much technology or as little technology as possible. But we never really clarified what is technology. I wanted to leave that sort of open-ended for the students. It's something I've done in STEM classes and engineering classes as well, where we say, okay, what is technology? And students will often say the computers, the machines, the robots, the cars. But then I hold up the pencil. Is the pencil technology? Oh, we never really thought if the pencil is technology. I guess at some point, right? So is the bug spray technology? Are the pesticides or the herbicides technology? It's something to consider, right? And the impact that those have as well.
I loved how they said they did. And I loved how they said, we found that if we work together, manual is as efficient as, or almost as efficient as using the machines, but costs less. So there's that teamwork aspect that we always say is so important.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Certain things require collaboration and persistence and hard work. And that's one of those things.
Exactly. Exactly. All right. And so our next video is from
So,
a Farmcraft favorite group.
although we haven't shared this team yet, right? We've shared stuff from the region and so on, and they're um, kind of partner teams, if you will, because they're all coming from a similar program. But we haven't shared from this team. But I love sharing this one because they found something, right? And you'll see it right at the beginning. They're For those who aren't aware, and some of you watched the trailer, all the beginning of this video, when Dr. Fowler was speaking, and they said, the cart is in that video, but it's not in the game this year. Well, that's not entirely so. So let's watch their video.
Oh.
This is eBlaze Water.
Oh, looks like we have found an Easter egg. Anyways, hello judges, we're Team eBlaze Water. So let's get started to our main season 2 presentation.
In our first run, we farmed everything on manual. We chose island as our biome to farm on. Our unit price was 2318. In our second run, we used plenty of process involving machines, which got us a total of 6080 as our unit price.
Our manual playthrough had a lower in unit cost. As using machine gets rather expensive, the unit price is expected to be higher than in manual. For example, while planting crops by machines, it costs us about 50 coins. On the other hand, manual planting doesn't cost us a single penny.
We managed to keep a climate score of exactly 790 on both of our runs. However, in case of cost, machines versus manual plantation had a huge difference. Manual farming cost us 155 coins, while machine farming cost us 970 coins.
We believe that utilizing both systems will help us achieve better scores. For example, instead of fertilizing crops manually, we can use machines to fertilize. This method would provide us with better soil score than manual fertilizing. The price might be a bit high, but we will try our best to reduce the cost through other means.
Awesome. So what was the little sneak peek there?
So the cart is in the game. It's just very, very, very hidden. So you need to know where to find it. They called it an Easter egg. That could not be more literal. That's, I guess, a hint. But it is in there, and there's only one place that you not only have to find it, but you have to know where to put it to get it to appear in your world. So it's a little tricky, but some teams have done it. So we saw some videos where teams have done it, but they, in their conversation as well, did some, really great things where they talked very specifically about their outcomes, their numbers. They also mentioned that they felt that moving forward, understanding both systems to make those decisions, because we're not always going to make the same decisions, is beneficial, is useful. And I liked the way they approach it. And again, even in this video, right, we saw them saying, they were comparing the manual fertilization versus the machine fertilization. Well, the machine fertilization, you talk to the farmer sends in the machines, you see the big tractors fertilizing everything. And manual is using the sprinklers. But again, is that technology? And it's okay. However you decided in the conversation, justifying how you approached this challenge is perfectly okay. That was kind of the goal, it was a little open. But we love seeing those conversations and how it's rationalized, how we strategize using what we've learned in those playthroughs. That was exactly the goal, and so many teams came through with great entries. We were happy to share these two as just a few of them.
Right. These were awesome. And so now we're going to continue on our journey. As we said, we are focusing a lot on content from the field is what this is called. That means from everyone out there participating. And we just want to make sure that we have a chance to see what you all are doing and what you all are learning. And again, to share those so that they can inspire and inform what you do. We're through the registration period now, but we have time still for you all to participate, to play in the game, to find the vehicles that are hidden in there if you so desire, and to make sure you're submitting your scores. So this first video that we're going to play, we'll just take these. We have 3 student videos, and I will just go ahead and launch the first one.
They do a good
Hello,
job
my name is
introducing
Abdurrahman
themselves.
Gillib. I am part of Urgla's team Farmcraft team. In this Farmcraft competition, I have learned a lot of things about farming and food safety. I learned how to genetically modify the seeds to grow specific crops that satisfy the people's needs. I learned also that the transportation method can affect the price of crops. If we use airplanes, for example, we reach regions very fast, but the price will be higher. If we use the overuse of pesticides can affect or harm the soil and the climate. I am learning new things in this.
Yeah, that was exactly what he said there. The transportation method affects the price. That's what this was all about this time. We kept in all the agriculture aspects and all of the climate change that's so valuable and helpful to learn. But we've really had some challenges in the last year with getting products to market and with supply chain issues. And so when that was folded into Farmcraft, that was exactly the lesson that we were after. How does your transportation method affect what gets to market, both from a cost perspective, and then as many students have discovered, you might get it there fast or slow, but then also what kind of condition is it going to be in when it gets there? Those are all really important factors.
Yeah, we heard early on in our preseason challenge that we had a guest talking about like when do we actually harvest it, right? Do we harvest it like as it's ripening or way before it's ripened so that it has time to ripen on the way, or it ripens when it gets to the store? Because we can't pick it after it's ripened because it still has a lot of traveling to do a lot of the time.
Right. Yeah. And remember, we had the guests that were from the trucking company, and they talked about how it snowed and it almost never snows where they live. And so all of a sudden there was this wrench thrown into the works for their normal decisions on when to harvest, when to take trucks out, what size trucks they could use, because the snow affected if things were slip sliding around on the road. So there are a lot of external factors that go into these decisions also. All right, so we've got our next video coming up here. I'm going to share it and then we'll chat about what we saw.
Hello, I'm Taiba and I'm representing Team eBlaze Water from Bangladesh. We have been enjoying the Farmcraft tournament a lot, so let's talk about it.
Hello everyone, I am Rabbi. I am also playing for eBlaze Water. Here's how we play in Farmcraft. We usually feed the cold biome because we can get low unit costs there.
It is always a good idea to talk with the residents to understand their preference. My most favorite section is the seed combination part. We have to find the correct sequence very fast.
Farming is similar to last year. We have to deal with weeds and caterpillars. As we are Team Water, we always keep good water levels for our crops. The transportation methods are very interesting this year. We need to carefully choose the least expensive option. I am good with numbers, so I can calculate the exact number of containers that we need. We never needed more than 7 containers, and it is possible to use less than that.
From this year's competition, we have learned that food transportation is a very important topic for farming. Improper transportation can spoil a lot of foods, so we should never let that happen. Another fun thing we noticed was that every community has its own preference. We can't just feed sweet fruits to people who actually like sour food.
We are very excited for leaderboards to be published, so that we can see how all the teams are doing in the competition. We want to see how far we have come up against so many different teams. We will practice hard and try to get the best possible scores for our team.
Love that. Claire, guess what I'm going to say? Because it wouldn't be a stream without it.
It wouldn't be a stream without mute.
That's right.
I was going to say it's fun that we started with watching a video from Team eBlaze Water, and then we got to see the team in person.
We got to go behind the scenes a little bit. We never get to go behind the scenes. That's why I'm loving these videos.
Yeah.
I loved their strategies, loved their enthusiasm for learning. I liked the idea that they wanted to see how everyone was doing. They're curious how this is becoming something as a sort of community, right? And that was something we talked about early on, was establishing this community of we're all learning together as we do that. And that includes us on these streams. Every time we have a guest, Brian's not here to defend himself, so I get to pick on him a little bit, but always, talking about those facultative anaerobes, because we learn these things and they stick with us, especially when we learn them this way. It's a really, really fun way to engage in this. And I'm glad that the students are kind of seeing that from their end as well.
Absolutely. I thought it was kind of fun that they said we're team water, and so we're especially interested in water. So they had a connection that they made personally from what they decided on their team name as.
Although it does make you wonder what Team eBlaze Fire is into.
I had the same thought. That's so funny. I did have the same thought. I know in some places, after they've harvested the crops, they burn them, which helps re-enrich the soil. So who knows? Maybe
there's a use, right? There's a case for fire. Maybe that's got to be something we do in our next one as an option. How do we clear out that underbrush and things like that?
Right, for sure. And also, it was great that they said we're talking to the residents. What do they like? How do we serve them? That is commerce.
Yeah, you can't feed them things they don't like.
You can't just feed them things they don't like. Yes. Yeah. Really good job. All right. Well, we have one more student video. Here we go.
Konnichiwa. 日本の山口県にある立修館高等専修学校の e スポーツ部です。今日は僕たちの活動を少しだけ教えようと思います。僕たちの e スポーツ部は30名で活動をしています。2カ所の教室に分かれ、リーグオブレジェンド、フォートライト、バロラント、マインクラフトなどのタイトルをチームに分かれて練習しています。先輩たちとの距離も近く、いろんなアドバイスをもらいながら取り組んでいます。また、マネージメントやチームロゴやポスターを作成してくれる運営部門のメンバーもいます。
やっぱそのマイクラで説明するものを作るときに、マイクラってブロックだからどう表現するかすごく難しいので、そこをどう表現して伝えれるかっていうのが今一番難しいですね。まとめるの苦手なんですけど、このメンバーまとめれるよう頑張ってます。このメンバーで頑張ります。
ありがとうございます。頑張ってください。
はい。
知らないことを知れるってとっても楽しいです。
じゃあどのようにして調べてますか？
学校のパソコン使ったりお家で調べたりしてます。
お家でも調べてるんですね。はい、調べてわかるっていうのは楽しいですか？
めっちゃ楽しいです。
じゃあこれからも頑張ってください。
はい。目標を持ってそれに合わせたチームで協力しながら行動するという形だったので、ゲームとして楽しみながら農業について学ぶことができました。その学びをもとに自分の考えを発信できたことはとてもいい経験になったと思います。今年のファームクラフトは前回よりも難しくなっていると聞いたので、でもそれはその分大会に関わる方が農業や環境について真剣に考えていることだと思うので、私もファームクラフト2023を応援します。
Wow. I almost just want to leave those last few sets of words up on the screen for a minute.
I loved that.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. That's exactly what the team has done. Thought long and hard about what are the lessons that should be learned here.
Not to mention the idea that, maybe this one is a little bit harder than the ones in the past, but as we add more of those decision-making processes that are in real-world farming, it's going to get more complicated. And that's part of what we're doing is how far can we push that complicated and still students kind of grasp what's going on and say, oh, I can figure this out.
Right. Well, and it's so impressive because they are. The students are. I mean, they're figuring everything out. I really enjoyed that video that we got to see sort of the full picture of what's happening in their esports club, because of course on these streams we focus on Farmcraft and on what we're all learning about farming and agriculture. Mm-hmm. But in lots of esports clubs, there are students playing other games, learning about different aspects of the ecosystem and what job might I be able to have in esports? So it was fun to see that initial snapshot as well of what the other students are doing in their club.
Absolutely. And how different some of those classrooms all look, but all sort of participating in the same things, that there's no one right way to do any of it or to create these clubs to engage in these programs.
Right. Okay. And I'm just going to call out how many times they said that this is really fun in that video.
Right.
Because there's a lot of learning going on, but also we're having a good time and you should
Having a good time.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Well, we're going to shift gears for a moment here because we've heard from the students, but it's pretty unusual actually that we say, all right, what are the adult sponsors doing with the program? And so that's what we are doing here as well. So we've got input from 2 different adult sponsors, and I will go ahead and play the next one here.
Hello, this is Mauricio Aragon from Centro Cultural Costarricense Norteamericano and General Manager of the Esports Gaming Club at CCCN and the adult in charge of the Blue Gengars. Today, I'm answering 2 questions. What skills or practices did my students develop or touch upon during Farmcraft? I'm going to highlight 2. The first one, quite interesting, I would say it is patience. We got an interesting dynamic. We got 2 veterans from last year and new students as well. And the dynamic was interesting to say the least. The veterans, they knew how to do some things and they wanted to take control over the situation, whereas the new ones wanted to do everything. They were curious and they wanted to explore and press buttons and do stuff. So they had to be patient with each other, but at the same time they had to practice their communication skills so that they could take decisions together. And that's fascinating. In this challenge, they had to negotiate what to do, who's doing what, when it should be done. All these decisions, of course, were answered by their communication skills, if that makes sense. How engaged they were in this topic of food trade and food security, we got since this is a very small country, some of my students maybe live in mountains regions where potatoes are grown or onions are grown. So they're quite familiar with, or not quite familiar, but they're familiar with farming or some basic concepts. So it was interesting to see how they would bring their knowledge into the video game. Usually it is the other way around, but we got a really interesting dynamic of reflection and comparing, contrasting, while also they were playing. They definitely enjoyed this new challenge of delivering the produce, right? Being not only just growing the crops, but distributing them to other regions, to other parts of the country, another biome. For them, there was another opportunity to practice their decision-making skills. They had fun for sure. As for feedback, I would say that in the last segment, we were in this room, and so that we could load the trucks, right? I think it was to load the trucks with the crops. One of the students got teleported to do this process with the Tetris thing, but the rest of them got stuck inside this room and they couldn't see what it was happening. So I feel like it would have been more interesting to them to all of them be teleported to this other area so that they could see what was going on and to take decisions together as well. They got really good results. At least this is my opinion. These are the results that they got.
I think we had that same experience, didn't we, Eric? Where A few people were loading, but not everyone can because there's not room for everyone there. That's sometimes reality. You know, we don't all fit in the same room. Oh, now it's your turn.
Oh, it was inevitable. I think this is the first time all season I've done it. It was inevitable. I got so close to the end, but now there it is.
So close and yet
so close.
far.
But yeah, you know, the game has specific mechanics and all of that. We did have an issue early on. We released a patch, and that resolved an issue with that for a lot of players, or for all the players, I think. 'Cause I haven't heard anything since, which was great. But if we're talking about, like, for example, what we had on stream the last time, actually, yeah, there's only 4 platforms for a reason. So I would love to load 1 million players in there. It would be great. It would probably help our scores, but it's just not a reality of the gameplay as it's designed, you know? So it's, we got to make it work. They did do very well, though.
Well, and also it's not just that it's not a reality of the gameplay, but it's also not a reality of the real world. You know, if you have a loading dock, there are only so many people that are going to be able to fit on it. And that's part of the reason why when we had these supply chain issues and you had a holdup for a while, and then all of a sudden ships came traversing across the oceans and you had tons of products showing up, but not enough people, you couldn't have put all the staff on the dock to unload everything. So that's the real world too. Yep. I loved at the beginning, he said, one of the main things students learned this time around was patience, because you had a combination of veterans and new students playing. That's a really good point. We have to learn how to work in teams, and then a team might change and you have to learn how to shift and adjust your strategy. Absolutely.
All right, we've got one more to go.
Okay, here we are.
Good day, everyone. My name is Akin O'Connor from Trinidad and Tobago, or the Scholastic Esports Research Center, or SC Sport, and I'm also coming to you from St. Margaret Boys Anglican NASA Club, which I'm one of the program coordinators. And today I'm just here to answer 2 questions. So the first one, what skills or practices did our students develop or touch upon during Farmcraft? So when we started Farmcraft, everyone knew how to play Minecraft. All these students were familiar with it. Everyone could build. Everyone is expert builders. However, when it came to working together, that's an entirely different story. So one of the things they had to develop was teamwork, as well as leadership skills. What we did, our students were split into different groups. And naturally, what emerged was they were leaders, and the leaders had to delegate roles. So even though the students had the skills of Minecraft, they had to develop that teamwork element. And that was very key in them not only understanding how the mechanics of the game work, but also their relationships with each other. So over time, as they played more, as they played more, you know, the communication had to grow because everyone is an expert. So everyone knew what they were doing. And over time, when they started to talk more, when they started to listen to the leaders, when they understood their roles, that teamwork element that built. So teamwork, communication, and the leaders, they also had to learn how to communicate to the others. Another question I'd like to answer, how many students engage with topics around food trade and food security? Now, when we were doing the pre-season challenges, in particular the pre-season challenge number 2, which was food transportation, where we were looking at from the farm to the local markets. One of the things that came up was everyone had different experiences because not everyone knew how the product got to the farm. Some boys knew what a farm looked like. Some boys knew what the local market looked like. Some people even revealed they never went to the local market. So what happened was we had to use each person's or the different students' individual experiences in order to build a plan, because in order to demonstrate it in Minecraft, we had to plan out what we were doing. It was interesting because different boys with their different experiences, they had to teach one another. So the boys who had never been to the market, some boys had to draw what the market looked like. There's a store here, there's a road here, there's vendors. So the boys who went to the farms, they had to describe to the students what a farm looks like. And then, you know, it naturally grew their interest because then the conversation shifted like, we need to go to the market. I want to know what the market looks like. I want to go to a farm. Another thing that understanding they did about the world is that when we were actually playing Farmcraft and we were looking at different biomes, one of the things the students were trying to do was they were trying to equate the biomes to their real life equivalents. And then naturally the curiosity came out. They were wondering, okay, so in this biome, this grows this way, or in this biome, this does not work. So that means if we find the real life equivalents, could we find the real life product? And I always encourage them, use the internet to research, Google, because we need to understand that the internet is not just to play video games. It actually can be used to benefit you with information. And on their own, they did a lot of research, and where they understood that a lot of things that we take for granted in our country, in Trinidad and Tobago, crops that grow easily in our temperate countries, it will not grow easily in other countries, because just like the biomes, it's a different climate, it's a different, has different factors involved. So there was a lot of learning through this farm.
Guess what, Claire? It's your turn again.
Gosh, back and forth. Okay. Oh my goodness. Okay. One thing that I loved on that video at the end, what he's talking about, that's exactly what the students in Japan said. There was so much we wanted to know that we went outside of Farmcraft and we went and did separate research to figure something out and then come back and apply it in the game. That's so cool. Way to go, students. I really applaud.
Absolutely. Right. If look, Farmcraft is a wonderful program. And, I, of course, I have to say that, like, I'm guilty. Like, I have a little bit of a bias, but I love the program. I love all of it. But we can't teach everything that we would love to teach, right? We don't have the time or the resources to do it. And, of course, we're counting on the students to be inspired by this and say, let's see what else we can learn. And it sounds like, and I heard that that's absolutely what happened. So that's inspiring to me.
Right. Love that. And then just all the lessons about working together and developing leadership skills, because that's a key factor of this program too, is just for everyone to learn how to progress, how to move forward. Working together on teams, that is a reality of the career force today, the workforce today. And so it's great to keep developing those skills as you go along through school.
Yep. Communication is a skill in esports and it's a skill in life. So completely transferable.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that is our show and tell, if you will, for today. We shared lots of videos, some from students, some from teachers, all talking about their experience and what they learned. And it is your turn to make sure that you are submitting your videos. We have a deadline coming up shortly and a few milestones that must be met in order to be eligible for the prizes. So Eric, do you want to talk about those?
Absolutely. So there have been 3 regular season challenges. They're all out now. They're all on NASEF website. So you know where to find them. We've shared them at the end of every stream, but all 3 of them are there. They're all in the flip. Those all 3 need to be submitted. And of course, we need your score on the leaderboard. Now, keep in mind again that there are prizes for our 1st, 2nd, and 3rd place winners. But there are also raffled prizes, which means if you enter all of the things you need to enter, you are entered for that opportunity as well. So, don't feel frustrated if you're seeing scores on some of these entries and you're like, well, we're not doing what they're doing. 1, of course, you've got time, keep trying, keep practicing, come up with new strategies. But 2, know that there are still opportunities to win. We still encourage you to get all of your entries in and to get entered into those chances to win.
Absolutely. So, make sure that you are doing, as Eric said, you've got to do all 3 challenges and submit to the leaderboard. And our next date, we are going to be revealing the winners of Farmcraft. And we have a special stage that we're going to be showing those winners and revealing those winners on. Eric, do you have a sneak peek of that stage?
I do. So once again, for the 3rd year in a row, we go back to the winner stage, where we will be announcing on our next stream all of the winners of the 2022-23. It is the 23.
Wow. It is.
It's still baffling to me. Farmcraft program. And so there's still time. We'd love to see your team being announced on the stage. We'd love to see the flag flying. So what will we see on our stage? What will we see in terms of what flags are hanging on our stage when we take the stage for our next stream?
We don't know the flags yet, but we do know that there are going to be chickens there for sure,
There
right?
are always chickens.
There are
and
always
not
chickens.
just behind the scenes. You see them backstage, but there's usually a few roaming the crowd. There's one over there, so you know.
Oh wait, where is it? Oh, I see it. All right. We got
there's another one.
chickens
Yep, there
wandering.
you go.
There's another one. Oh,
Always.
so fun. So fun. Yes. Well, we can't wait to be on this stage with some of you announcing the winners. And as we said, there's also an opportunity to be entered into that raffle because we know there are some brand new teams and you're just figuring out what to do. And so we want to make sure that you have an opportunity to win something also. So make sure that you submit. Our award stream is on April 27th. So join us then. And until then, thank you so much for joining us today. And we will see you on the 27th.
Good luck.